everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to day 3 of my 12 days of Crafty Christmas. Today I'm going to be creating a card with the Modern Garden bundle. So the Modern Garden stamp set and then the Modern Oval punch that coordinates with it. I'm also going to be bringing in a second sentiment from Brightest Glow. So we'll be using Wishing You the Warm Blessings of Christmas and may the peace of the season light your world and may your new year be the brightest. So I've already mounted my stamps onto acrylic blocks. I have also already created my my little poinsettia from the set. I've stamped it in real red ink. I've added some gold heat embossing with the dots in the centre and then fussy cut it. I don't know if you can tell, but there are some kind of white spots where I maybe haven't gone quite close enough with my fussy cutting, and so what I'm going to do is bring in the real red Stampin' Right marker and I'm just going to add a little bit around the edges just to make sure that I haven't got any white bits showing. So just a quick go around, and it might seem a little bit kind of silly or a little bit overkill, but it does make a real difference for any areas that would have just been white when you're kind of fussy cutting so that there isn't a border. There you go, hopefully you can tell the difference there. So I've used the kind of brush tip end to get into all of those tiny little corners. And this is one of the new version of the Stampin' Right markers. So they've changed the thin end from what it used to be. So this is what the thin end looks like now. And let me just grab something and I can show you what it looks like when you write something. So it's a nice kind of almost felt tip style nib, which is lovely. And then I've got our sentiment piece here. So I've punched with the Modern Oval punch from Pretty Peacock, and then I've stamped the Wishing You the Warm Blessings of Christmas from the Modern Garden stamp set, and then I've heat embossed that in gold. So they're ready to go. So now we need to cut our card base. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and our card base is going to be wild wheat. So this is actually a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock that has just been cut down, but I'm going to cut it to the measurements that I would like. So I'm going to cut to a standard card base height. You can use whatever your standard version is. I typically do a half sheet of A4, so I actually cut my A4 cardstock at between 14.8 and 14.9 centimetres, and that kind of gives me that perfect in half sheet of A4 size. So I'm trimming down to that, and then I am going to open up my trimmer because I'm going to trim the length to 30 centimetres. So it will leave me with a finished piece of cardstock that is 30 centimetres by just shy of 15. Then I'm going to move my cutting blade out of the way and bring in my scoring blade. I'm going to slide the cutting blade up there. I'm going to score at 10 centimetres and then I'm going to turn my cardstock over. So 10 centimetres, then I'm going to turn my cardstock over and I'm going to score at 20 centimetres. Like so. And then I can move my trimmer out of the way. Except I'm going to need my trimmer again in a second. So then I'm going to fold my card along those score lines. And then I'm going to bring my trimmer back in. And I'm going to, first of all, measure 8 centimetres, and then I'm very carefully, just with my nail, just going to make a little mark there at 8 centimetres. I don't know if you can see that there, just a tiny little mark. And then I'm going to bring my trim around this way so you can see. So I'm going to line up with that 8 centimetres on my cutting track at this end, and then I'm going to angle my card so that I have this top corner also in line with my cutting track. Because I'm cutting to a point, I'm actually going to bring my cutting blade in kind of halfway along or so my card, just make sure that's perfectly lined up, like so. So I'm going to bring my cutting blade in part way along and then cut in both directions, like so. And then this is our card fold. So this is our card base, and then I'm going to be bringing in some of the Garden Walk Designer Series paper. So I've got 3 sheets here. I've got 2 with the poinsettias and then the sort of splodgy Pretty Peacock. So I'm going to trim all 3 of those pieces down to 10 centimetres. And you can do it individually, you can stack them together, whatever you prefer. I've got a nice new cutting blade, so I think I can get away with 3 at a time. But because I'm cutting more than one, I'm going to bring my cutting blade in part way along, just so that it doesn't catch on that edge. And that's gone beautifully. So then I'm going to bring my card base. Let's move the trimmer out of the way. So I've got my card base there and my 3 Designer Series paper panels. So I'm going to take the first poinsettia panel. Sorry, I actually need to cut them at 9.5. 10 is my usual width for a standard card, but actually this card isn't quite a standard card, so I need to trim those actually at 9.5 centimetres. So again, I'm going to put my cutting blade in, oops, part way along, just so that it doesn't snag. There we go. Right, move that trimmer out of the way. So let's try that again. So my poinsettia piece here along my back panel. So I'm going to kind of line it up so that I've got the border that I would like, and then I'm going to double this border at the bottom here, or as near as I can. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take my large paper scissors and I'm going to cut along that diagonal as best I can. And then we end up with a nice even border all the way around. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with the other 2 panels. So when you do this though, you need to make sure, so the 2 poinsettia panels will go on the one side, but then because of the way the card folds, your Pretty Peacock piece needs to go on the other side. So you just need to be a little bit careful when you're cutting that you cut it the right way round. So again, that nice edge, double the border on the bottom, flip it over so that it's nice and easy for me. Oh, made that a little bit wonky. There we go. And then again, just trimming that along there. And then I'm going to do the same with my final piece. Again, making sure that it's the right way round. Nice even border on all 3 sides, double the border at the bottom, flip it over and cut along there. So I'm just going to move my scraps out of the way so I don't get confused. And then it's time to put the card together. In fact, no, before I stick it together, let's stamp our second sentiment. So I've used gold on the front, and on the inside I'm actually going to use my memento, just because it's not going to kind of change colour because of the wild wheat. So this is the Memento Tuxedo Black. My sentiment is the second sentiment, which is from Brightest Glow, and I'm just going to stamp that in the middle of my middle panel, like so. And then I'll pop the lid back on there before I put my hand in it. And then I'm going to bring in my trusty Tombow and stick my designer series paper panels on. So aiming for that nice even border all the way around, like so. And turn it over for our middle panel. Make sure you put the glue on the right side, because we are actually using the same 3 sheets that are the same. It's just that we're using both sides. So again, nice even border. Flip it over the other way, and then our third panel. Which is then going to go front there. So now you can kind of start to see what our card is actually going to look like. And then we've got our sentiment and our lovely little poinsettia. I'm going to pop both of those up on dimensionals. So I'm going to put my sentiment on first. The chances are this is going to be making its way to its recipient through the postal service. So I'm putting quite a few dimensionals on the back there, just to make sure that it stands up to that process. Ooh. You can use your take your pick tool to get the backs off dimensionals. If you find that a little bit easier, I'm going to aim nice and central, hopefully straight, and then pop that down. And then our poinsettia, I'm actually going to pop on double dimensionals. So I'm just going to take 2 dimensionals, one on top of the other, pop it down into the centre of my poinsettia. Oops. And then position it so that it's on there but not obstructing my sentiment, and there we go. That's the card for today. So you could write your message on the inside. You could go ahead and put a white panel on the reverse if you wanted to give you some extra space to write. It's a nice design for if you were sending a card from colleagues or something and you needed more space to write. Obviously you've got this space here, the reverse, and then the reverse of that front panel as well. And I suppose if you wanted to, you could write on the pretty peacock as well, and that would be hidden when the card was closed. But it's just a fun, different fold. Yeah, so that's the card for today. I do hope that you'll come back and join me again tomorrow for day 4, when I will have a different project with a different stamp set for you. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.